Republican and Democratic senators are coming together on this one, saying they're concerned. And President Trump says he agrees and he's not ruling anything out. Here in Houston, the mayor says this city is almost dry, but that is not the case for all of Texas. In fact, where we are, this shelter, they're getting ready to house more flood victims from other regions. This is also under a mandatory evacuation order where we are told at least 1,000 homes have been destroyed in this neighborhood alone. This, as authorities say, teams with cadaver dogs will now begin targeted searches in these devastated areas for those people still missing. Dueling rallies kicking off Decision Day in America. For both Clinton and Trump, today is all about voter turnout, and that is why they are leaving nothing to chance and campaigning to the very last minute. This storm shattered records in so many cities. Here in New York City, take a look. Even with all this, turns out we missed breaking the all-time snowfall record by 1/10 of an inch. Rescuers on the move are navigating some areas on boats. It's the only way they can get around neighborhoods still underwater in South Carolina. It is about ankle deep now, but we are told just yesterday this was waist high. So the conditions here appear to be improving, but again, the governor is asking residents to stay vigilant. Now, some of them came out here without these tickets they need to get inside, but they say just being here and being able to pay their respects here in Ollie's hometown, that's all that matters. What, if anything, they found, authorities are not saying, but we do know that what they are searching for are any clues that can help them zero in on a motive here. A daunting task for firefighters attacking multiple wildfires amid the deadliest week in California fire history. Nearly 6,000 homes and businesses destroyed, an area larger than New York City burned to the ground. Officials saying it will be weeks before they determine the causes. More than 2,800 homes were destroyed here in Santa Rosa alone and surrounded by all of this devastation, including these cars, trucks, and just all of this furniture. Take a look what we found. A handful of homes still standing, and the homeowners say they can't even believe it. Gene Welch and Mike Hibbard overwhelmed by the destruction everywhere they look.
I've been here 39 years. And to find it still standing, it must have done something right somewhere along the line.
This is probably the only 3 homes from here for 3/4 of a mile that way and 1 mile that way.
Michael Clements, not as lucky. He and his family making a middle-of-the-night escape just ahead of the flames, returning Friday to the site of where his home once stood.
Probably within a half hour, most of these houses were already caught.
In Sonoma, a crew of firefighters saving several homes in just a few hours.
We were just literally running from house to house. It's super smoky, it's super hot, you really can't see very well.
This house spared, firefighters say, because it had built-in roof irrigation. And those exhausted firefighters resting wherever they can. All will be back on the front line again this weekend. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, Santa Rosa, California. Harvey still wreaking havoc in East Texas. This in Beaumont, where helicopters are the only way rescuers can get to the families stranded in their flooded homes and evacuate some 200 other patients from a local hospital.
Hey, check that one. I'm going to check this one.
In the city of Vidor, volunteers are using boats and the Army rescue trucks to get people to higher ground.
I never thought it would happen to me. It always happens to somebody else, but never to you. And now it is.
And in Crosby, fire at a chemical plant has residents within 1.5 miles still unable to return home, with officials warning more fires are inevitable. But in other hard-hit areas where Harvey has come and gone, cleanup now underway.
I have the opportunity to do an aerial view of the city of Houston today.
And this morning across Texas, we are told more than 30,000 people are still in shelters, and FEMA officials say the work has begun to get them out of these shelters and into hotels, but still no timeline as to when those residents can return home. That is, if they even have a home to return to. You've heard there are 2 sides to every story, and now this story certainly fits that bill. As far as what was really said behind that closed-door meeting now depends on who you ask. Facing massive backlash, President Trump finally addressing the growing firestorm.
No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person
Speaking from his Florida Beach club, the president denying he made vulgar and offensive comments about Haiti and Africa in the Oval Office.
Did you see what various senators in the room said about my comments? They were amazing.
President Trump referring to several Republican senators who were in the room for that meeting on immigration, both backtracking on their initial statements and now saying President Trump is telling the truth.
I'm telling you, he did not use that word, George, and I'm telling you, it's a gross misrepresentation.
I didn't hear it, and I was sitting no further away from Donald Trump than Dick Durbin was.
Senator Dick Durbin was the only Democrat in the room at the time and telling a different story.
He said these hate-filled things, and he said them repeatedly. He said, put me down for wanting more Europeans to come to this country. Why don't we get more people from Norway? That was exactly what the president said.
And now the lawmaker who marched with Martin Luther King is also weighing in, the Georgia Democrat making it clear who he believes.
Do you think President Trump is a racist?
I think he is a racist.
Well, President Trump is scheduled to return to Washington later today with another busy week ahead. First, avoid a possible government shutdown on Friday and tackle the ongoing fight over DACA and immigration reform. Overnight, the worst fears confirmed for these anguished mothers.
It's terrible. He's my only child.
Christine Leinenen and Mina Justice, both learning their sons are among the dead.
He said he was going to die and he loved me. That's the last thing I heard.
Justice sharing these heartbreaking text messages revealing her son and others were held hostage inside this gay nightclub in Orlando.
We're being told possibly up to 15 remaining in the club that are barricaded in.
There was bodies everywhere, and I was crawling. I just kept crawling.
The 3 hours of terror ending after SWAT officers breach a wall of the club and exchange gunfire with the suspect. This morning, authorities are releasing more names of those who did not make it out alive and revealing new details about the gunman, Omar Mateen. According to authorities, the 29-year-old arrived at the club armed with an AR-15 type assault rifle, a handgun, and an unknown number of rounds of ammunition, well organized and prepared. Then called 911 after the shooting began to pledge his allegiance to ISIS. His ex-wife says she is shocked but not surprised.
Honestly say that this was a sick person. This was a sick person that was really confused.
So again, 50 people killed and 53 others are still in the hospital this morning. And for those families still waiting for any news on their loved ones, investigators say they will be updating those family members later this morning.